All right, good afternoon. Back for part four for Alexander. Um, so before I start, obviously people I know I won't strike, but this show is actually copyrighted. So unfortunately, we got Charles is doing misinformation. Um, so oh, and we're gonna carry on. Hope we're going to have a good show. Hi, Alexis Reed. Hope you will. He should come on in a minute, Alexander. Let's just get this out. Just got a few things. Uh, Ichabod. Just waiting for Alex to come on. Hope you all will. Part four. Um, we know we're going into the unknown. That's what I will say. Just waiting for him to come now. Let me just give him a bell. Right, he's gonna come in 5 minutes. So yeah. Actually, there's something I wanted to play. You good guys? Hello, everybody. I'm Rashid Gabriel. I am holding in my hand the Muslim Brotherhood Plan for North America, written in 5/22, 1991. This is their plan, titled مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام في أمريكا الشمالية. This is about their explanation on how they're going to take over the West, their 100-year plan to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. This plan was presented as evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terrorism trial ever in the history of the United States, where our government handed down 108 guilty verdicts to Muslim Americans and Muslim organizations in America, raising money in the United States and sending it overseas to support terrorist activity overseas. And I'm going to read you a paragraph about their intention in the United States and how they describe their work. Number four of the paragraph is titled Understanding the Role of the Muslim Brother in North America. And it says the process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, which is the Arabic word for brothers, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the
believers so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions. As you can see, they don't mince words. They don't beat around the bush. They tell you exactly what they want to do. They go in detail in this booklet talking about how they are going to implement their plan and the organizations that they had set up in the United States in order for them to advance their plan in America. And here are the names of some of the organizations. They give 29, the names of 29 organizations set up in America to do that. So I'm going to read you some of the names. ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America. If the name sounds familiar, it's because ISNA used to be advisors to President Obama about Middle East policy. So now you understand where signing the nuclear deal with Iran came from and why Obama was all over himself trying to appeal to the Iranian regime, even them sending them pallets of cash in the middle of the night on an
Hi,
airplane,
John.
landing in an airport in the middle of the night, millions and billions of our tax dollars. Number two on the list is the MSA, the Muslim Student Association. The Muslim Student Association has chapters all over I am holding it. So today when you are watching all these demonstrators in our American universities screaming death to the Jews, we hate the Jews, from the river to the sea, Gaza will be free or Palestine will be free. Now you understand where that is coming from. Number eight on the list is the North American Islamic Trust. The North American Islamic Trust owns 90% of mosques in the United States. Number 22 on the list is IAP, Islamic Association for Palestine, which later became CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. Now, when you read all this stuff, you think to yourself, how can this happen? Does our government know about this stuff? We've been talking, I have been talking about these things for over 15 years. This is detailed in my book, They Must Be Stopped, which came out in 2008, detailing this plan. When I used to talk about these things, I was accused of being an Islamophobe. People called me a hater. Nobody wanted to listen. When I was warning about the Muslim student associations on college campuses and the money coming from the Middle East funding social study department, the political science department, and appointing professors who are anti-America and anti-Israel to teach that Israel is evil, America is bad, and the Islamic world is the underdog, and the Palestinians are the oppressed, nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to pay attention. So today when you see all these people organized on the streets of the United States, hating Israel, hating the Jewish people, hating America, tearing down American flags and the pro-Palestinian demonstrations in New York City, now you understand.
Well, I've heard this word before. I've just got sent that. Yeah. Well, I remember seeing something of about a couple of years back, right? She is quite to the point, but actually, maybe telling the truth here because you see what's happening now. It's all crazy that they're putting money just to wind up the troops and that. Now it's like, by the way, hello, John. You're all right. So I'm going to wait for Alexander to come on. But things are changing. Can you see the pattern though of the demonstrations? Like it's like it's like it's like the same group, the same you know, who infiltrated Black Lives Matter and all that. You know, it's like these demonstrate people are asking them today. What are you demonstrating for? And they're saying they don't know what they were demonstrating for. So it's like, oh sake, it's crazy. turned out to be a lovely day today, isn't it? Yeah. So it's a mad world we're living in. To be fair, isn't it? We've got all these. Okay, be on in 5 more minutes. I know tie-keeping or some people. I mean, right, pick up the one likes. Can you hit the likes for us? It's either be on very soon. So, is everything been all calm? And, hi, Mel. He's coming on in a minute. In a minute. Yeah, what was going to say? Yeah, these demonstrations are getting crazy. I mean, they're even affecting in across England now, isn't they? I see Leeds, Newcastle. Then you've got about the illegal immigrants going back to Rwanda. They're stopping that. Do you know what I mean? This is ridiculous. If they haven't got papers for them, they go back. And you know, we've got to do things the proper way. I mean, these people are they really? I don't. I just don't get it. The guy. I had to laugh from the. Yes, happy Shabbat today. Happy Shabbat. I forgot about that. God, it's the third, isn't it? Hi, Pauline. It's the third today, isn't it? God, happy Shabbat. Are you busy? You say you're out partying today. um. Here he is.
It's just this is the transition point between the weekdays and weekends, and as these times often do, that's exactly where problems appear out of nowhere that require immediate intervention. So I was slightly late because of that, and I apologize. This is the third stream I'm gonna do today. So I've been surprisingly busy outside of the usual stuff.
Oh yeah, Alexander. You're right, mate. Oh, Mel, I just realised it's Friday today, isn't it? Not Thursday. I thought it was Thursday today.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's all gone crazy in England now. They're
Why the white
demonstrating they're demonstrating in England now.
Ah,
I mean, on the campuses like Newcastle, Leeds, and places like that.
so they activated the British cells like the Americans.
Yeah, and and you were being accused of being an anti-Semite. And I
Yeah,
thought, well, I thought, how thick are you? You're a Jewish man. Because you dislike the Rothschilds.
Rothschilds are not Jews. The hell's wrong with you? Rothschilds are not Jewish.
Yeah, that's what the people are. This is what this troll. No, he done a video. I just struck him for just being stupid. Everybody's got their view. Anyway, welcome all. Part 4. I did do a premiere on your thing. Might have to go and share it up, but I think people are starting to listen to you, Alex.
Yeah, I'm apparently good at this. Not
So,
exactly
what are
the.
we touching on today, Alexander?
Um, I don't know. Mm, what would be a nice topic? Well, somebody from the audience asked me a difficult question. I'll answer it.
Okay.
Mm,
What? Oh, you want somebody to ask you a question?
yeah, why not?
Has anybody got any questions at the moment? I think.
Give me a difficult topic, something that'll challenge.
Um. All right. What does it mean to be Jewish in
Uh,
your eyes? What? And tell me what's the reason for you think that people are not Jewish?
well, it's mostly a hereditary thing. It's like being
Yeah,
part
but
of a noble
mm,
family, but
mm,
I mean, Jews never went through the whole Middle Ages thing.
mm,
Um, oh, so in Britain, you like saying ladies and gentlemen.
yeah.
So the word gentleman, it's not from gentle like soft. It's from the word gentil, the same root as gentry. So you cannot be a gentleman. A genteel man is defined as somebody who is both noble and
Mm,
of a known tribe. So you're not allowed to say to a Jew that he's a gentleman. It's like by definition wrong, because if you're not Jew, you're a Gentile. So it's Gentile man, and so you're not supposed to say that to Jews. It denotes somebody who is of any sort of nobility rank. So when the in British Army, you like saying like gentlemen or gents, and it's actually
yeah.
discriminating against Jews. uh, but the point I wanted to make is that Jews never went through the whole feudal system, so we never had like the what's the insult they use in Britain, posh and plebs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we never had that. I mean, Jews can be richer or poor, but there wasn't like he's from a distinguished family, so he needs to be treated differently by the rules. We never had that thing. And so when all of Europe and Asia, they did have like a split, a very clear split between the common people and the nobility. The Jews never got into the whole thing. And there's a saying, I don't remember who is it attributed to, that every Jew should consider himself being the son of a king, because just by the fact that he's Jewish, he's already a nobleman, even if he doesn't have any money or land titles or stuff like that. And it's also we never had these um inheritance problems, the succession crisis, where only one person can be the duke or the count of something. So you had brothers fighting each other and cousins fighting over the inheritance. So in Judaism, they just split the money, and everybody goes to their own thing. So it never really turned into such a big problem as in Europe, and that's why we never had any serious. I mean, before before we came to Israel, we never had like serious succession issues, and so there wasn't a lot of internal strife within the communities. And what it means for me to be Jewish is mostly I'm keeping up the tradition of my ancestors. I mean, my ancestors
mm,
suffered and struggled for a good 200 generations, no, 100
mm.
generations to maintain their Jewish identity. So I have the duty to do the same. I don't have to, follow every mitzvah, every religious
No,
law that
you
there is.
don't. You don't.
But
I've got grandparents who are
it is
Jewish.
like
Mm,
it is important for me to like marry a Jewish woman and have Jewish children, and the ultimate test is of course having Jewish grandchildren. So by that metric, for example, Donald Trump is more Jewish than say Chuck Schumer, because all the children of the supposedly Jewish Chuck Schumer are not Jewish anymore. They converted out, and Trump does have Jewish grandchildren. So Trump is more Jewish than the others.
mm. Oh,
So
that's
that's
why there's so
the
much. That's why there's so much hate towards him, innit? And
one of the reasons. Yeah. Uh,
yeah,
in a more general sense, the government, the global government, they don't want people to have a sense of identity where, even like at a young age, you think about this sort of you're trying to shape the mindset of the grandchildren you do not yet have. So
mm,
they don't want this sort of, continuity and loyalty to family and loyalty to long-term tradition. They want you to be loyal only to the political party and only to the whatever issue they bring up as the trendy thing. That's uh, that's another reason that they hate Jews so much, because we represent a problem to their ideas of society, and so they try to destroy us.
do you know what? When I was used to go to school when I was young. Well, I'm 55 now, but when I was um, young, when I was going, I was. My dad told me, don't ever mention uh, you got Jewish in you because you're going to have terrible trouble back in it. Because it was like that in the 80s in England. Very, you'd be. You used to feel that you had to keep that part of our side away from it, like because like his dad was Jewish and his mum was as well. Dad, yeah, but we always was told like because of the troubles you would get, um, don't say anything. You know what I mean? Um, so I would only say I had the Jewish when I left school in him. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm, okay.
it was very quiet thing because it was very far near Nazis back in the days. You know what I mean? The racism was very high towards blacks, Asians, and Jews. Do you know what I mean? Irish in England, in London. So we had to sort of
Uh,
like keep it. So well, not for him, for me more or less. It just don't say much about it in school. You know.
uh, uh, I mean, the we have to separate the two concepts where you discriminate on people based off stereotypes, and then you uh, discriminate against people who fit a negative stereotype
Mm,
when they are proven to be of that
mm,
negative stereotype.
mm,
So if there's this big problem in the United States, and I'm guessing in your areas too. Oh, right. In your areas, you have all these grooming gangs.
yeah.
So they catch them, and instead of quietly burying them in the sand, they give them light sentences or outright release them, because
Mm,
it would be racism if a large group of what you call them, Central Asian Muslims are caught in sexual crimes, because that will look bad and the police will be blamed at racism. But I mean, Jews are famously often involved in organized crime. It's not a racist thing to say that if somebody is Jewish, it is more likely compared to the average person that he will be involved in organized crime. But to think that every Jew that there is involved in organized crime is racism. But if you catch a Jew involved in organized crime and you lighten his sentence because he's a Jew, that's racism. That's wrong and stupid. So,
So
on
would
the
you
whole,
so would you be offended if they were to call you a criminal? Then
I mean, I'm personally not a criminal, but if I was caught in a crime, I would have been a criminal, but I'm personally not a criminal.
yeah.
So you're not
But do you
supposed
get offended
to.
by it when they judge like Jewish people or money?
Uh,
Uh,
Offended is not the right word. It's more like uh, I'm surprised by the stupidity. So I was like, last night I got into an argument with some flat earthers, and they started to claiming that vacuum doesn't exist. I give him numbers, he gives me uh, ideas that he doesn't think vacuum can exist. Then we get into flat earth. I explain to him like basic eighth grade trigonometry, and he says that arctangents is a conspiracy, and he ended up going that the Pythagorean theorem is not real, it's a conspiracy theory. And at that point, there is no point talking to them. I mean, if we
mm,
can't if we cannot accept that basic math is real, then for him nothing will ever be real, and there is no point convincing these people. It's just
yeah. Hi, Abby. Yeah, so I just think what it is what it is when they say Jews got a lot of money. I think it's just if it's just a lot of people just got a little bit business savvy in it. I mean, it's not just Jews, is it? A business savvy. There's a lot of cultures are, aren't there? You know. I mean,
I mean, anybody could be potentially business savvy. Jews are usually,
mm,
I mean, we grow up with a sense of responsibility from a very young age. So,
mm,
like for example, I went to during the what you call it in British during high school and the thing before that. So from 6th to 12th grade, I was in a boarding school, and we even like when we were really young, like 13, 14, like a group of us gathered and went to the principal's office, and he's like
yeah,
retired army colonel, and we
mm,
said like we want to influence what will be the lunch menu. And in most societies, the this guy this he's an intimidating person, he's a ex army officer, the kind who's used to screaming
mm,
at people and going into battle, and he was like, you know what, let's give it a try. And so we introduced our main cook in the cafeteria. He was a Yemenite, so he never saw buckwheat.
mm,
Actually, we wanted to introduce buckwheat to the menu because
mm.
Russians eat it often, and he asked if it's kosher because he's never seen it before.
Yeah,
But we were like, and when the principal saw that we were given responsibility and we handled it well, he started giving us more and more
yeah,
responsibilities, and we ended up like the management of the field trips or all sorts of weekend activities, instead of being on the management of the school to organize it. We the students were doing it ourselves because we got used to the idea that there is no concept of like it's not my problem. Like, Like I
Yeah.
was explaining about the story of the kids throwing trash in the street. It is my problem. It is my street. It is my home. The whole land is my issue. And if I can fix certain problems, I want to try and fix them. And the it was taken to a very bad direction by the reformist Jews, especially in America, where they actually introduced it as like a core belief in their. I'm not sure if the word heresy fits here. Denomination of the reformist Jews. They invented the Tikkun Olam concept,
Mm.
and they turned it into like a communist thing.
Yeah.
I think you can find it. It's called the Boston Declaration or something of the
Okay.
reformist Jews,
Do
and
you know
it's like
what? Do you know what, Alexander? I've been like watching some clips when I was before I was going into my next jobs and that. And do you know what? I can't believe how much influence America is. You know, I can't. I didn't realise how much influence they have been with a lot of things. I just feel like they sort of are using Israel is their shield to spread crap for Israel to take all the flack. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, I'm especially angry at this new censorship bill that they passed. I mean, nobody in Israel asked for it. We asked to legitimately find the,
Mm,
the Hamas terror cells who were breaking into universities and holding the janitors hostage. That's
mm,
the sort of people we need to fight against. But instead, they pass very sweeping censorship bill that attacks free speech. I mean,
mm,
I violated that free speech law. What was it? 2 days ago, when I said that the killing of Jesus was organized by some Jews. So I'm a hate speech anti-Semite now, according to that law. And they didn't. It wasn't something that the Israelis asked for. It was something that they invented, and they put a sticker of Israel to push it through the Congress because there
mm,
were a lot of Israel supporters in there. So they were just told
mm.
that it's good for Israel, so you should vote on it.
Because
The same.
it seems like right since Biden got in, okay, he Israel the president has got worse. Do you get what I'm saying? I mean,
It's
with
always like that with the Democrat in power. They're always hostile
mm,
to Israel to a larger
mm,
extent. I mean, the Republicans are not much better because the people who actually draft the policies of the foreign policy, they don't change between
mm,
administration. I mean, the very top people change, but the middle management and the advisory groups, they don't change. It's the same people doing the same stupid things. I mean, the whole disengagement from Gaza, that was the Bush plan with Condoleezza Rice. It's not the Democrats who are trying to convince us that Jews living in Judea is a bad thing for the peace process that they are planning for decades now and isn't working. So
mm.
it's they use Israel as a scapegoat.
I just think now I'm beginning to think like the influence of America. I just think they have got Israel to do their dirty work on certain things to show
More
their
like
hand a
take the
bit.
blame. We rarely do the actual work.
Yeah,
Uh, we just take the blame for it. I mean,
yeah,
Israel didn't ask anybody to, invade Iraq or conquer Afghanistan
no.
or the whole intervention in Syria. That was not our idea. That was
Mm,
their idea. And then they pretended that it's Israel's best interest or something. We never said that. This was purely people on your side. And then they just do some tricks to make Israel take the blame for it.
mm. Well, it's obvious. I mean, because it's strange where you've got a president where he is not. negotiating anything now. Um, he's not. Didn't even negotiate anything for the hostages, did he? And that's why the public are gone against him a little bit, haven't they?
You mean
Um,
Biden?
no, new the Israeli president. What's his name? Newtar.
Netanyahu?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do
That's
you mean
it.
by negotiating? It,
Well, it was like a no policy thing. He wasn't. He seems to gone on a bit of a mad one, hasn't he? Like a real mad. He's lost the plot with it. It's like he is at attack now. I mean,
no, he's doing the opposite of attack. The Israeli people want to attack, and he's holding them back with stupid explanation that the Americans are against it. The Israeli public, the public wants to attack. Again, we're playing by Middle Eastern rules here. There is no
yeah.
kumbaya and everlasting peace like you had with the Scottish. This is we're going back to Middle Ages rules with cross-border raids and
Mhm.
kidnappings and burning castles. Except here, instead of castles, they burned our villages, and so we need to trash their place. That's how the Middle East works.
And I suppose what that's all the youngsters across Europe and like America that are not understanding it's Eastern.
I,
It's
I'm not sure what is there to understand. They murdered over a
now
thousand of
I'm on about
our
the
citizens
rules.
and
The rules are.
kidnapped some of them.
I'm on about that it's different morals in this war. You know what I mean?
It's not
It's
different morals. No other country, no civilized country does that of kidnapping hundreds of people and just
mm.
holding them hostage
And they
for
don't
the
just do
express
it in
purpose
Israel.
of releasing
They
terrorists.
do it everywhere as well, don't they? I mean, they've done it.
No, no. Look, we had wars with like Egypt and Jordan and Syria. They
Yeah.
never kidnapped people and tortured them like this. We had like even civilians who were surrendered to the Jordanians in
Mm,
1948. They didn't get treated like this. We
mm.
had hundreds of prisoners of war in Egypt. They did not get this sort of treatment. They were like beaten and forced into humiliating stuff, but nobody like raped them or
No,
desecrated their bodies after they were dead.
no.
That didn't happen. That's exclusively Palestinians, and for that they need to be avenged. This is the Middle East. Our tribal honor has been damaged, and if we do not avenge the people who hurt us, anybody else will think that they are allowed to hurt us, and then we'll have an even bigger war.
They was going to say to you that I don't understand. Right? They saying that they're trapped. Okay, but you got Egypt right next to them. Why aren't they gone into Egypt for refuge?
Two reasons. First of all, half of them, I mean, this is a tribal society, so you can trace exactly from which tribe every Palestinian came from, and
Mm.
half of them are immigrants from Egypt. Even people who
Oh,
are like
okay.
even
Okay.
people who are like who call themselves Palestinians. I mean, people don't realize that until about the mid 19th century, you can read the journals of Mark Twain when he traveled here. The
Mm.
place was completely empty. There was less than 50,000 people in the whole country, and a third of them were Jews. And most of them were located in towns. Jerusalem was a small town back then. Tzfat, near where I live, was a small town. There were just a few small towns and nothing else. And when the Jews came in the late 19th century, there were also like Christian groups. There were these German settlers, there were Swedish settlers, and they started to, drain swamps and build farms and stuff like that. Then they had job opportunities. So a lot of Arabs from Egypt, from Syria, from Jordan moved into this area, and that's their grandchildren are the ones who we drove out in 1948. So they are themselves immigrant. Even their supposed national leader of all times, Yasser Arafat, he wasn't born here. He was born in Egypt. Their
Yeah.
current president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, he was born here in Tzfat, but both his parents came from Syria. They were not original. So most of these people, the point I was making, that half the people of Gaza, they have like distant cousins within Sinai. So if they move into Sinai, they will stay there, and even worse, they will start doing terrorist activities in Sinai. I mean, nobody really publishes this, but the level of violent insurgency in the Sinai is worse than Afghanistan in 2020.
Mm.
They actually have like giant battles with hundreds, sometimes even thousands of soldiers. It's a very violent place, and the Egyptian government is legitimately afraid that a few dozen more fighters from Hamas joining this local insurgency
Mm.
will make them lose all of Sinai, and that's why they're afraid. They don't want these people because they know that they are violent and they cause trouble. Same thing with Jordan. Jordan doesn't want them because they're violent and they cause trouble. Syria doesn't want them. Turkey doesn't want them. The only, I mean, I always advocate to send them to Syria. It has plenty of good
Mm.
farmland and open spaces, and even intact abandoned houses. Plenty of those in Syria. Or you can send them to Libya. There they have also nice farmland. They even have oil, and they could use the uh, immigration. They can use immigration over there. So, uh, but
They're
no other
terrible
Arab
for
country
slavery,
wants
though,
them
aren't
because
they? They're terrible for slavery, aren't they, in Libya?
what?
Terrible for slavery in Libya.
Yeah, but it's you can only enslave non-Muslims. So they enslave the Africans, not the fellow Arabs. You're not
No, I
allowed
know.
to
That's what I
enslave
mean. It's a
Arabs.
bit of an evil country, isn't it? I mean, they set them on, putting black people in chains and everything. And this is what I'm not getting. This is what I'm not getting. Right? You've got everybody going on in canvases, yeah. But there's been slavery in these countries, in these Arab countries, for in modern times. It's unreal, and there's no demonstrations about it.
I
You
mean,
know?
you have little girls kidnapped into sexual slavery by the
Yeah,
tens of thousands in Britain, and nobody cares.
yeah. And it happened again in Mozambique not long ago. Um, yeah, and there's no and you know, there's hundreds of children that are starving in Yemen as well. And you know, this is what I'm just not getting with all of this. Why aren't you demonstrating about that as well? You know?
Because nobody will pay them to demonstrate about that.
Yeah,
They
they
only
definitely. Yeah,
they only get
yeah.
paid to demonstrate against Jews, not against
Mm,
Yemenis or Africans. Or there's a giant war right now in Myanmar, in Burma, between Thailand and China.
mm,
They have a giant war right now, so you
mm,
could go protest about that. Nah, it's only when the Jews are involved that somebody will pay them to protest against them.
mm. Mostly George Soros, isn't it?
George Soros is again just a middleman. He's transmitting funds from all
Yeah,
of
but
these
he's a
War
lunatic, isn't
Foundation and
he?
Carnegie Endowment
He's an
to these
absolute
charities.
lunatic. Oh, really?
He's not a lunatic. He's just following orders, like his
Mm.
former Nazi pals.
I have put a link out for anybody who wants to jump on today. Um,
Yeah, well,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I watched a bit of an interview with him, and he ain't fucking normal. That bloke. He said he's the oh, what was it?
yeah,
He said he was the fucking
the Messiah. He thought of himself as the Messiah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. I thought, oh, fuck off, you
Yeah,
cunt.
I
You
mean,
know?
the closest thing we have in Israel to a creature like that is a woman named Sherry Arison. She's the CEO of the biggest bank in Israel, and she wrote like a little book where she claims that angels show up to her at night and give her financial instructions on what to do. So and she's also a billionaire. So the lot of them are either they pretend to be goofballs or they're just seeing connecting with
I'm
the
just,
spirit world.
I'm just really, do you know what? I've really got to cut off of watching this on the internet at the moment because I'm getting really deluded, disillusioned by it all.
Yeah,
Nothing's not straightforward anymore. What it seems to be. Do you get what I mean? You got these Ashkenazi Jews, then that little group of going around with their placards saying "Death to Jews," the Orthodox Jews. You know them ones. They're only a small
and a
group,
Turi
and that.
Carta maybe,
So
or it's some sort of progressive reformist goofballs.
yeah, they were stand. They would go against Israel, but they're Orthodox Jews. What they called. I watched a documentary. It was called Rebel.
Orthodox is anybody who is a traditional Jewish.
Yeah. Rebel
It's
Rabbis I watched. I was
it's very
watching there.
specific sects. It's a very it's with even within the ultra religious groups, it's a tiny minority that will actually go against Israel.
Mm,
It takes a really special type of stupid to do that. So
mm.
they're extremely rare, but because they look good in the protests, then they're probably paid to be there.
No, yeah, I know Great Foreign. I know it isn't. I didn't mean to say that. I forgot what they call themselves now.
Not
But
all
they're,
European Jews are Ashkenazis. Most of the Jews in Britain are actually Sephardic. So Ashkenazis are in Eastern Europe, they're the majority, but in Britain, in Holland, even in France, most of them are not Ashkenazi, they're Sephardic. They came in the 16th and 17th centuries.
yeah, yeah. I just think it's just not so straightforward anymore. I think everybody's gone nuts, Alexander. I really
Yeah,
do.
it's a psyop to drive people mad, so they don't know what's true and what's not anymore, and then they would believe whatever they're told. Is Alexander Ashkenazi? Technically, yes.
I was just joking there. It's a joke, I think.
Oh, why not? Yeah, I'm from Ukraine, and my lineage is Ashkenazi Jewish. Yeah, it's not something to be ashamed of or something.
Oh no, no joke. All right, sorry, I read it wrong. Sorry, I thought now I'm on about yeah, because you're from the Ukraine, innit? Sorry, all right, off key there. Sorry, Mel.
What to be
Um,
sorry about?
no, no, I
I'm
read it.
Ashkenazi. I'm not like ashamed of it or
No, no,
anything.
me. No, I read the question wrong. I thought she was joking because of that troll. Yeah. I thought she was going on about this troll,
Like,
but
oh,
okay, I just realised what she said. But the
I
question
realize
was,
that people don't know Ashkenaz is just it just means German. It's a
yeah.
very in a very ancient dialect of not exactly
Mm,
Hebrew, but of Latin. It means Germany. The
mm,
same way France is called Tzarfat, Turkey is called Kushta, and the Sephardic it means Sfarad, Spain. We
mm.
had like all sorts of weird names for countries that nobody is sure where the name came from. But yeah, Ashkenaz means German because these people, like I was saying, during the Black Death, they fled from Germany into the Polish-Lithuanian kingdom, and from a very small group of about 200 or 300 people, they blossomed into several millions over the years. So
It's
it's not like calling somebody Ashkenazi just means of German origin.
yeah. Oh, Ashkenaz Aussies originate from the Middle East.
I
that
mean,
true?
Jews originate from the Middle East, but Ashkenazi comes from a specific group of
Mm,
these few hundred people from Germany, and these people in turn immigrated from the
mm,
southern Italy over the years. So you can, I mean, in genetics, you can quite accurately track from what region which ancestors came at what time. It's a pretty relatively accurate science, if nobody's lying. So, like I was saying, for example, the Picts that you had in Britain, they originate from the Picti or painted tribe that immigrated all the way from central
mm,
Russia near the Caspian Sea. So they were also Aryans, and they immigrated there. And the Irish, they actually come from a tribe around Romania called the Astageri or something like that. So the Irish are genetically majority. They're not Celts. They're actually from also from the Balkans, from Eastern Europe. And obviously, half the population in Britain is the Angles. They were living in northern Germany. The Saxons too.
mm.
Saxons come from the Sahashin, which is an area between Iran and China. It's in the edge there. It's the Saxons split off from the Sahashin tribe. There's still a small half of the tribe living in Tajikistan or something. So that's where the Saxons come from. I mean, the easiest differentiating feature is the hair. People from Asia have straight hair, and people from Africa and the Middle East have curly hair.
Yeah.
So Jews, like me, have mostly curly hair, but Finns, for example, they originate from a tribe that came all the way from Korea. Saxons, again, straight hair. Just because they turned blonde, that's an adaptation to the cold weather, but genetically they're more Asian than European.
Mm,
Yeah, and the Celts kept the curly hair because they originated from Africa, and then mostly from the area of Anatolia, from Turkey, and then they migrated into Central Europe, and from Central Europe they spread around. I mean, ethnogenetics is an interesting subject, but YouTube censorship does not allow to talk about it in detail because it's racist somehow.
why? Because you're just you're just talking about different ethnicity in Judaism, isn't it? I mean, how's it racist?
Because once you allow the connection between specific physical traits and genetics, then you open up the door for the connection between ethnic between between ethnicity and skills, and more specifically ethnicity and mental skills. And the specific point of saying that certain racial groups have higher IQs is a specific thing that is banned by the terms of service of YouTube. So you're not allowed to say that, whether or not it is true. And again, it's an average statistical thing. You cannot determine on a specific person whether or not he's more or less capable based on his race, but as an average, as a group, you could make these sort of distinctions. So if you're looking for people who will kidnap little girls and turn them into sex slaves, the place to start looking for the culprit is the Muslim community and not the local whites. Oh, better yet, the place to look for is in the local British royalty community. They're into the whole thing, famously.
Mel said, "How about Idstein?" Idstein.
Einstein.
Einstein. I mean,
What
sorry.
about him? He was I mean, I studied physics, so Einstein is not exactly a scientist, more like a prophet, where he took results of experiments that nobody had a good explanation for, and he invented it. I mean, the actual Nobel prizes that he got, one was for explaining the um, how do I put it in simple terms? The first one is the active principle that powers solar panels today, and the other is what's called Brownian motion, where on a molecular level they just move around randomly because of heat. And he explained both these things, and that's what he got the Nobel prizes. And the whole theory of relativity, EMC square, it was not it to this day. There are parts of it that have not been experimentally proven. He just sort of guessed it, and it turned out to be true. But there were other things that he was guessing that turned out to be not true. I mean, he was a very big opponent of the whole quantum mechanics theory, but I mean, in the computer that we're using right now, it has chips that are so small that they are based on quantum mechanic principles. N- I mean, partially, mostly bad effects that have to be mitigated. But our computers are now strong enough to use quantum mechanics every day for semiconductor technology. So he was not like a know-it-all genius that knew everything. He was really good at figuring out an explanation for results of hard to explain physics, and that's the big fame that he got. He was also pretty good at social groups and parties and speeches, so they treated him
Mhm.
like a celebrity because most of the physicists are like shy or don't really have the kind of personality that you can put on stage. And Einstein was famously seducing 19-year-old girls and like to dance and drink and all that stuff. So he was more in i- more in line with the kind of image of a Hollywood celebrity than any other scientists at the time.
Mm. Mm. No, didn't it? I
He's not the
wanted to. Get,
cleverest man, not by a long shot. No.
I was
He,
gonna touch back on the what was it? Eh, Back with the Rothschilds, yeah.
yeah.
So you reckon that they're not Jewish? They're just what American?
I,
Like the main Rothschild
not. I
family?
reckon it's by the. There's like several definition on who is Jewish and who is not, and you need to have to be Jewish. You need to either go through the official conversion called Giyur, or you need to have specifically the mother, but at least one of the parents needs to be Jewish, and none of them, none of the currently living Rothschilds have even one parent who had one of his parents being officially Jewish. They
Oh,
all
really?
married into the uh, Gentiles, into the non-Jewish European royalty.
Oh, okay.
None of them are Jewish by any sort of definition.
I can't read that. That's in
In Hebrew, Alexander, why is this guy hiding his face, bro? It looks suspicious. He's not giving you any grace with his face to talk on his channel. Why is he hiding? Please ask him because he could be Chinese for all we know. Uh, the answer is because Rick here is under threats and under attacks, so he's not showing his face to maintain his safety. That's the very simple explanation of the matter.
Christ. He's got my phone number, you know. I've got even a Jewish person after me. Yeah, fucking hell. Most probably, he's most probably He's most probably actually somebody actually trolls just trolling me. Yeah. Uh, People have seen my face, mate.
No, I mean, it's not it's a choice that you make whether or not you show your face, and we're not supposed to de-anonymize people who want to stay anonymous, especially when they are talking about controversial issues like the Rothschilds or the communists or the Muslims. So it's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm not bothered by it.
Yeah, Mel knows me. Mel knows me. Thank you, Mel. Very kind of you. Yeah, Mel knows me. Actually, I can't say anymore, but Mel knows me, and the reason she was one of the reasons how I got found you through Nova. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I met Nova in real life. I visited his
oh, have
mother's
you?
house, so yeah, but he asked not to name him in public, so I don't name him in public.
No, I know why as well. I know why because
I mean,
it
I
was
can
about
say
4 years ago.
he has a family and a government adjacent job, so he doesn't want his name to be prosecuted. So it's a valid reason. I mean, I'm not
I
bothered
was.
by it. I don't know why you
Mel was asking, can you ask Alexander if he believes Jews can convert?
convert to what?
What, to another religion, Mel?
I mean,
Or
they can, but they don't stay Jewish if they're again. If you're stop being Jewish, then you're not Jewish. You can convert back, but you can't be both at the same time. Mm,
yeah.
I mean, it's a it's a pretty like I was saying in the beginning. My ancestors took a lot of effort to maintain their Jewish identity for 100 generations, and if somebody is incapable of that, then
Oh, she
uh,
said, sorry, can people
people who
convert
convert
to
to
Judaism?
Judaism, well, obviously they do all the time. It's easier than ever actually because the people who control the religious establishment always wants to convert people because if somebody converts, then it means they're not gonna be secular, so they're gonna be more uh, profitable to the people who provide the religious services. So yeah, I mean it is difficult compared to every other religion. It's probably the most difficult to become because you have like a test and an acceptance committee, and they sort of sometimes send people to watch you to make sure that you don't violate like Jewish rules, like I'm doing right now. So I mean, right now it's
Hang
close
on,
to
we've
sunset,
got someone
so
wants to come on.
yeah,
Alexander, is
let them
here.
in, let them in.
Your devices is not working. It's not connected. Can you come back and come in again? Oh God, here we go. Concentration.
I mean, converted to Judaism it never was profitable until the state of Israel was formed. So we didn't have almost anybody who is doing that. It's mostly through mixed marriages, which are also frowned upon. But now that we became a rich country, now it's suddenly all sorts of like Filipinos and people from Thailand and even like people from Africa. They find a representative of Chabad who has them converted into Judaism. For what? I don't know, but they expect to live here and make more money than if they stayed in their little jungle houses. We have a lot of if people from Eastern Europe who most of these like Russian oligarchs, they come out with a certificate that their great great mother was Jewish, and that's way they can get themselves an Israeli passport. And most of the oligarchs who were opposing Putin, they're living here in Israel now. Even like very famous people, like Alla Pugacheva, she's like the uh, what do I compare that? She's like the most famous singer in Russia in the 80s and 90s. She got herself an Israeli passport and lived here for a year or two before going back there.
I don't know what that was about in that private message. I ain't got.
Mm, I don't know.
I ain't got a clue, mate. I'm lost.
Think I'll be gotten that soon.
I ain't got a clue, man.
The state of Israel does not view people with Jewish history from father. Yes, the Jewish law,
Mm.
because we had a lot of wars and stuff. Not everybody knows who their father is, but it's kind of easy to figure out who the mother is. So it's if there is doubt about somebody, it's easier to know who is the mother than who is the father, and that's why we test along the maternal line
Mm.
for Jewish ancestry.
But you know when they say you can't be Jewish unless your mother is,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
the basic law of like it's both the religious law and the secular government law. I mean, we don't have a separation of religion and state in Israel. I mean, we have to a small extent, but mostly we create ourselves as a religious country. It's like in the past, the British king was the also the head of the Anglican Church. So we don't have the exactly a king. We have like a council of chief rabbis, and we have like one chief rabbi, one for the Sephardics and one for the Ashkenazis, and that's about it. But they don't have like a lot of sway except for giving the kosher permits to restaurants and
but you
things
know,
like that.
yeah, but if your DNA says you got that ancestry, yeah,
Yeah,
um,
I'm above 97% Jewish. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
um,
it's not like specific genes except for the Cohens or
mm,
Levis, but
mm,
you can trace the genetic profile where like it's I mean, if I wasn't as pale skinned, I would be considered by my looks a Mediterranean, and
mm,
the whole the skin tone is actually the least affected by genetics. It's more about the area you grew up in.
yeah.
So
Blacklist said, "Do you see any changes around you in the past few months, Alexander?"
uh, like what kind of changes? I mean, there's obviously a war, so there's that.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in the north. A lot of people left because of because the government told them to, not because they wanted, but the government promised them that it's only for a few weeks and we'll take care of you and we'll pay for a hotel room for you. And it's been 7 months now, and the government didn't even start to clean up the whole Lebanon mess. But the Americans keep telling us that they will get the Hezbollah terrorist organization to somehow retreat from their positions. They don't say why they're so confident, but there just are that everything will be all right if we believe in it enough. If
Grandpa
just
answered, "I thought the government changed it. If it so you can have a grandfather Jewish."
um You're allowed to have residency, but you will not be considered a Jew. I mean, you're
Yeah.
allowed. We have like we have different categories. There is citizenship and there is residency.
Mm.
So you can live here, but you will not be considered Jewish. So the limit is mostly on marriage laws and like burials and this sort of religious stuff. But outside of that, you won't really know the difference. But
Oh,
you'll be
blacklisted.
allowed to live here permanently, but you will not have a
Mm.
status of a Jew. I mean, the Arabs are obviously not Jewish, and not all of them agreed to become Israeli citizens, so they were given a status of permanent resident.
He said the change in atmosphere and danger to sort of things. That's what he's saying. Is there any danger in
I
the
mean, the
atmosphere?
danger is always here. I mean, here in the north, we sort of expect Hezbollah to attack, and that's why a lot of people left. But I always, even before this war started, I always expected that they will just roll up here and I'll have to run to the nearest military base and grab a gun from one of the dead bodies and fight them off. This is what happened in the south, but I expect that here in the north it will be the same thing
Mm.
at some point. I mean, the army has been reinforced, but I still think they're not exactly trained up enough to stop the initial attack.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, people in Western Europe, they don't live in a reality where they expect that 100 people with guns will show up and rob their village. But in
No.
most of Africa and in Afghanistan and Iraq, it's the normal life where you expect to that at some point somebody will roll up and try to rob you like the Vikings used to do. Except now they are
Excuse me
nowadays.
for a minute, Alexander. I want to address this guy. Look, what's the point in you putting in the Hebrew? You just wrote in English just a minute ago. Why don't you just write in English?
He's asking me why he's being silenced by this guy when he's asking about genuine concerns. What genuine concerns? If he's Chinese, I don't care if he's Chinese. He can be Chinese, he can be a Palestinian Chinese communist. What's the difference? I mean,
God,
he's giving me a platform to speak my opinions, and
I
he's
think,
asking
I
me
think,
what
I
the
think
difference.
there's a little troll here, and I mean, it's quite easy to write a little bit in Hebrew, isn't it? Come on.
Okay, I'll just ignore him. Who cares?
Yeah.
Just
I mean, I'm more Chinese than I don't know, Mike
even
Tyson is.
if you are, what difference does it make?
Yeah. um, are you Chinese, mate? Yeah.
I mean, they have all of these advanced chatbots, so he might be using some sort of auto translate AI. He
I
wrote that
reckon it.
he's feeling that this guy is convincing. Okay, good. Ah, damn it.
I'll behave, Mel. He said he sounds convincing. Did he say?
Convincing, yes.
Yeah, if you don't write in English, please, so I can read it, I will ban you.
Yeah. Maybe it's just stupid. There's so many stupid people in this world.
Yeah. Oh,
Like I said,
Chris, carry on, man. Even having a decent conversation brings on. That's quite funny, actually. It's made me laugh, actually. Anyway, what were we going on?
maybe it's some sort of test for me to check if I actually know Hebrew. I don't know.
That's what I think it is. Yeah, I think it's about you. they uh, I reckon they're doing that to see if are you are what you are. Yeah, yeah. They're trying to test you out, and they yeah.
That's as the teenagers say, weird flex, but okay. Let them type. Your man Alex can translate. Well, if Hebrew is your language, then why are you listening to an English-speaking program? Either you understand English or you don't. Just writing secret codes that only I will understand is stupid and wasting everybody's time. So,
And that means
oh, he
you are.
wrote, I choose not to speak English. So you can write me in comments in other live streams that I do. Uh, yeah, go complain to Zeitlin. I'm asking him to put me on for like
Okay
a
then,
month
mate. What I
now,
do
and
is,
won't show up.
as as a the owner of the channel, and I will speak in plain language to you because you're a troll. Why don't you just fuck off and you're banned? Right, that's
Yep, I I
and I'm
second
just
that.
using my right. This
Yes.
is just my right to say in English, piss off. Right, let's carry on.
Yeah, as the Americans say, don't let the door smack you on the way out.
Oh god, man! All these words I got to pronounce because I got a form of autism. I can't pronounce words. Hang on. Rick, can you
Heard
ask Alexander if he's heard
Eliyahu
of
Lamkin? No, I don't know who that is.
Eli Lankin? I've heard of. Well,
Man.
undo him then, John. Undo him then if you want.
Revisionist Irgun member. Ah, okay. I was actually in their museum in of the Irgun. Oh, he's commanded the Alta Norlena ship. Yeah, okay. I don't recognize the name, but I know the work. Okay. Born in Gomel, not far from me. Died 94. Political activism. Member of Etzel. Oh, escaped all the way from Eritrea back to Israel. Nice. Uh, okay, so in Europe, commanded the Altalena. That's a nasty piece of situation we had there.
She said
And
my
member of
grandfather helped him escape.
well, obviously you don't travel the 2,500 kilometers from Eritrea back to Israel without somebody helping you. Um, diplomat career. Okay. Yeah. Overall, nice guy. Did a lot of cool things. Yeah. Uh, help win him a new passport. Well, yeah. I mean, the what can I say? The Irgun or the Irgun means organization. It's the first word of Irgun Tzvei Leumi, which is the national military organization. This was uh, the right wing militia as opposed to the left wing Haganah, and the mix of both Lehi, and they were operating against the British mainly to get them out of the mandatory Palestine because they were blocking Jews from entering the country before, during, and after World War II. And yeah, they did some stuff, mostly spectacular military special operations like breaking into prisons or destroying radar stations. liberating people who were in prisoner camps, blowing up bridges. Famous, of course, the attack on the British police military headquarters in the King David Hotel, which they were directly warning the people in the building to get out because there's a bomb in the basement. And the commander said, I don't take orders from Jews. And a few minutes before the bomb detonated, they even threw a grenade near the entrance to make everybody inside realize that the threat was real. And again, instead of evacuating the building, he did the opposite and told the soldiers outside to round up as many people as he can into the building so there would be more casualties. And after that, there was a very ugly episode where the left wing militias collaborated with the British against the right wing militias, so they would be in a better position politically after independence. And then the Irgun for a time fought independently against the Arabs, and eventually they were incorporated into the Israeli army, like this Eliyahu Lincoln, who became a battalion commander in the army.
It's,
There's a
there is a
book,
book on, I think,
Chief Rabbi of Djibouti. How many Jews are in Djibouti? Chief Rabbi.
oh, do you want me to put that back up? Sorry, mate.
Well, okay. Props to your great grandfather. A gold business. Djibouti has gold mines, I think. Eritrea has silver mines, and Djibouti has gold mines. There are definitely in northern Ethiopia gold mines.
Mm.
So no, it's not two sides to the same coin. The point I was trying to make is that there is a difference between a military insurgency and a terrorist organization, because the difference is that terrorists attack defenseless civilians and civilian targets, and the legitimate military targets, like again bridges, radar stations, prison camps, that's a legal target for a battle, where instead these Palestinians they blow up restaurants, bus stops, train. No, they didn't. They never got into a train. We have too much armed security. But they just run over people in the street and try to stab them. That happened last week. So, or they just shoot at random cars on the road. They don't even check if somebody in there is Jewish or not. They'll just open up with a machine gun on the roads.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the difference between terrorists and not. So don't call the Irgun or Etzel a terrorist organization. They were a national military insurgency, but they were not terrorists.
So maybe, so why has the IDF killed
Uh,
138,000 kids
how
so
do you
far?
know that so
Same
many
look.
children were killed? You're trusting the words of Hamas on that? And how do you define child when it's a 17-year-old with a gun? Are they still a child? I mean, I can go into how many civilians the British Army killed in Afghanistan and Iraq, and the comparison will not be to your liking. Or I can even bring up darker chapters like the Malayan insurgency, the Burmese insurgency, your involvement in Vietnam. Ooh, that's a hell of a lot more than 13,000 children that you killed over there. I can just remember the what was it, 3 or 4 million people in Bangladesh that Churchill decided to starve to death for no good reason.
How about in
Failed to
China at the
realize.
moment? Concentration camps for Muslims in China. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, China is
Mm.
they're a nasty bunch.
Mm.
It's a re-education camp, and obviously Islam is not the kind of force they want in China, so it's a much more systematic approach than just randomly killing them. But because if they just kill them, then people would run away too fast. So instead, they like forcibly convert them into communism through these camps, or sending them into other provinces to work there, or they force marriages between the Uyghur. That's the proper uh, wording. Between the Uyghur locals and the Han dominant ethnic group in China. They have like projects where they bring a Chinese person from the mainland, and they force a family of Uyghurs to have him live in their house, so we can watch over them all the time and make sure they only say the right opinions. So yeah, communists are nasty, and they have finally reached the point of total surveillance technology, which they didn't have before. And yeah, they're using and abusing it. I mean, I see sometimes people who doubt that the stories about the organ harvesting are real, but then you can watch from even not Google Street View, the public images of airports in Western China. And you have like a for incoming air traffic passengers, you have a separate lane for people who are coming for a transplant, because that's they for some reason have a whole lot of organ donors specifically in that area of Western China. Who can guess why? So yeah, uh, Chinese Communist Party is just as nasty, just as evil as the jihadis, maybe even worse, because they are well funded and well organized to complete their vision. Mm, let's see. Agree. It's all right. G. University of Pennsylvania. And where did the University of Pennsylvania get their numbers? I mean, I'm the kind of person who takes numbers seriously, and I need to see a source where these numbers came from. They don't exactly have death certificates or cleared out the rubble. Uh, I mean, I can say that the Israeli army makes more of an effort than even the British army to avoid civilian casualties, but there's still gonna be civilian casualties in the war if
Mm,
the civilians didn't have a chance to evacuate. Or, for example, the war between Russia and Ukraine has relatively few civilian casualties because in every five-story building there, they have a big basement. And when civilians just hide in the basement, they're usually fine. I mean, even if you had like the biggest street battle you had was in Mariupol, and it had only like a few hundred civilians deaf because they were all hiding in basement, just leave a flag outside, and they avoid getting killed by bombing or crossfire just by staying in the basement for long enough. But that battle was relatively short; it lasted for about a month or two, and this has been 7 months, and the Israelis are obviously shooting into anybody who looks suspicious. Hamas is obviously not wearing any uniforms, not when they run around with guns, not when they're planting bombs. So yeah, in certain areas, it doesn't matter if it's a bunch of kids going on a stroll, or people with who are Hamas members who are moving unarmed between buildings to reach the next weapons cache. Yeah, they know there's a war going on, and they went there anyway. Um, there were, of course, the more stupid situation, like these World Kitchen something, where they notified the Israeli army that they're coming, and Hamas sent a truck with armed people to escort the convoy to make sure they don't get robbed along the way. And the Israeli took the message about not shooting the convoy was not transferred properly through the channels, and they bombed the convoy anyway because the people in the first car had guns, and that was obviously a mistake, and the people in charge of that were fired, and it's emblematic of in modern warfare. I mean, you had like 20% of the British soldiers killed in the Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. They were killed by Americans misidentifying them and shooting at them. So it's not uncommon to misidentify targets in a war zone. And sometimes it's civilians, sometimes it's your own soldiers, sometimes it's another country's soldiers. Yeah, that's war. Nasty business that, even with technology, is not that much of an improvement.
It's mad, isn't it?
Point of
So,
sale.
what do you feel what is going to happen now? Because there's no backing down. They're on about taking legal action against Imane now.
Yeah, I saw that. They tried that a couple of years ago, where they, I mean, like I said, the Palestinians are mostly split between Hamas and Fatah. So Hamas is doing the uh, open terrorism, the overt terrorism of
Mm,
bombings, kidnappings, rocket attacks, while Fatah is mostly concerned with the more indirect terrorism, like educating children to hate Jews, running propaganda pieces in the media, organizing student protests, and legal warfare. This is the legal warfare. They
mm,
keep asking the International Criminal Court to arrest all sorts of Israeli officials on all sorts of war crimes. And we have like a department in the foreign office that's supposed to fight against it. And occasionally they get some judge somewhere to issue an arrest warrant for somebody. And usually we handle it more quickly, but this time they are making a bigger push through the International Criminal Court, because it's mostly the communists from South Africa. They're trying to equate what the apartheid regime in South Africa did over there with the what the Jews are doing to the Palestinians, and they're trying to make a legal case out of that to arrest people. So the trick this time is that they want to make like a secret arrest warrant, where people will go to a country and not know that there is an arrest warrant against them. So that's the novelty of the situation, and that's what got a lot of people on the Israeli side worried, because they don't know who will be blamed for what. And obviously, if they land, they get into the kind of trouble where if somebody is already arrested, it will be very hard to unarrest them.
I
So
think John said these people are hypocrisy like Putin.
yeah,
I
obviously.
I just think a lot of people what they're doing right is pressing this propaganda. Yes, there is children being killed. Yeah, but how many children has across the world Hamas or
How
ISIS? I
many
get
how many
it.
babies has Hamas kidnapped? I mean, uh, people get killed in war if they don't go into shelter.
Yeah,
Again, same with Russia and Ukraine. They have air raid sirens, and people go to basement, and it's actually very rare for in the past year. And I think there were less than about 200 civilians killed, even though the Russians fired thousands of rockets towards Ukraine, because they usually hit places that are military targets. And the Ukrainians get enough warning that they go into a basement and they don't get hurt from the blast. But in Gaza, they don't really have basements for hard to understand reasons, and they allow their children to run around unsupervised, going into battle zones. So Yep, some of them will get killed because their parents have not watched
But
them
you know,
closely enough.
no one doesn't want to see children killed and that, yeah. But when, what is Hamas going to take responsibility with some things? Do you know what I mean? They don't seem
Uh,
to be taking any
they
responsibility for
declared
their part.
they Hamas officially declared back in January that taking care of civilians is not their responsibility. They're a military organization fighting against Israel. The humanitarian problems of the local Palestinians, that's for the rest of the world and for the Israeli occupier to deal with. They wash their hands of that.
Mm,
It's not their concern.
mm. I think, what about us? But how would we not ask about Hamas that gave idea? What? So,
Again, the
um,
question for this kind of people, have you ever been to a war zone? Have you ever had to make decisions on who to shoot and who not to shoot? No. So the it is whataboutism because in every army in the world you have different operating procedures on how to handle dangerous situations. Israel standards are higher for when to return fire and when to bomb a place than in the British military. So, yeah, uh, we don't have a problem with that. The only higher ones is, I think, the Germans who have an order not to shoot back when people are shooting at them.
mm,
Uh, that's basically the most liberal army, and everybody else, yeah, they have laws for when you're allowed to shoot, and it's usually a heat of the moment decision. Yeah, I mean it's a war, people die, and usually it can be avoided if people take precautions like not walking around in the streets when there's a battle going on, not acting suspiciously, not traveling in groups along the road looking like they're going to get something from a hidden weapons cache, like they do often. And yeah, I mean, they're obviously not sufficiently trained soldiers on our side. We had that famous situation where three of the hostages escaped, and our
yeah,
own soldier shot at them from 35 yards because he was stupid and incompetent, and that also happens. But it's not a deliberate policy. That's the difference.
yeah. It's it seems like though it's like you don't. I heard a story where Hamas killed a woman, and where they killed her, they were spitting on her dead body, Israeli woman. Yeah,
They
it,
usually spit on the dead body. They had plenty of situations where they killed her first and then raped her.
yeah,
That
yeah.
happened. They recorded it on video in at least 20 occasions on October 7th. So yeah, that's the actual. I mean, there's even reports back from the 1948 war where they would, if the Israelis failed in an assault, then they would murder the wounded and chop off their penises and stuff it in their mouths, even if they were dead. So yeah, desecration of dead bodies is again a part of the local culture for them. They are nasty and dishonorable people. Yes.
Yeah, so it's like they do bring. It's just. I there- it's no point going on about it really with these demonstrators because they just haven't got a clue. They ain't got a clue. Do you know what I mean? They would just say it's one sided. No, it's both sides. That's how I see it, mate. And
No, I mean, one
they,
side is trying to act properly, and the other is clearly not. So,
yeah, because how many ceasefires have been broken?
and it's not a. It's the you're using the wrong concept. In Islam, there is no ceasefire with the infidels. There is only hudna. It's like a pause of hostilities. It's not a ceasefire. It's a pause with the intention of resuming fighting at a certain date. They it is part of their religion to maintain the jihad forever and ever until all of the world is conquered by Islam.
Yeah. Wow. It's well, I do believe it always seems like. Do you know what? I really got a really big of a wiser here because I've been in enough trouble with these trolls. But it always